What's up? What's up? It's your boy Corey B. So I want to just talk about money. I want to talk about, look, okay, so when you're launching a business, as I've mentioned before, those who've been following me for a minute, you know I've had multiple businesses that I've either launched, partnered with, or that I've worked with. I did contract labor and business coaching and things like that with multiple different startups. And the reality is that some of the businesses that failed didn't have to. Some of them, it wasn't that it was a bad idea. Sometimes it wasn't about, sometimes it wasn't a bad partnership. It wasn't a bad idea. It wasn't a bad marketing. It wasn't a bad product or design. Ultimately, sometimes what the biggest problem was finance. Why though? Why is finance such a huge issue? This is the thing, is people get in people's ears. That's what happens. Okay, so you got a business, right? You're about to, okay, let's say, just an example, a t-shirt business, right? Because it's a t-shirt business. A lot of people in the last 20 years, that's been kind of a hot thing. A lot of people have started their own little t-shirt business, which there's nothing wrong with that. Totally cool. It's actually a pretty good business model. It's pretty easy. A lot of limited overhead. There's just a lot of things you can do with a t-shirt business to keep costs down and make some profit. So it's not really, unless you really put your all into it, it's not really a support your family and build your dreams kind of business. It's more like a side hustle though. People can absolutely capitalize on a lot of money with a side hustle doing t-shirts. People do it on their YouTube channels. People do it for bands. People do it for, politics, when they're campaigning and they're not doing it as a side hustle. They're doing it to raise money for funding. I did it in college to do fundraising for scholarships and things like that. It's like t-shirts is an easy business to really, like I said, generate some revenue with little cost overhead. But what makes people fail is not being able to hit those financial marks in the right spot. It comes down to budgeting. It truly does. So it's not really a failed business, but it's just an inefficiency to manage money properly. So when you think about it, like I said, people get in your ear. People are like, "Oh man, this is a great shirt. What you got to do is you gotta get it. You gotta blast it on Facebook ads." Okay, blast it on Facebook ads. Great idea. Absolutely great idea. But what's the right amount to spend on Facebook ads? What's the right amount of money to distribute to inventory? What's the right amount of money, especially when, like I said, it's a startup. You're launching this business and you're like, well, how much money do you got to launch your business? How much money you got? So you reach in your pockets and you're like, well, I got nothing. Okay, check your bank account, check your credit cards. Start thinking, how am I gonna make this work? You start pulling out your budget sheets, right? You got your budget sheets and you're like, this is my personal budget, because what you're doing is you're launching a startup, you're launching an individual business for, like I said, side hustle, right? So you're looking at your personal finance and you're like, well, I got these bills that I pay every month. I got these things that I pay every month. I got all this stuff. What wiggle room do I have, and what can I squeeze out of my revenue, my money, my cash flow? So I'm bringing in a weekly or bi-weekly paycheck. How much can you squeeze out of it? How much can you take out of it? How much can you sacrifice? That's where you have to start. See, people typically work backwards. They say, oh man, what do you need to launch a t-shirt business? Well, let's see how much those t-shirts gonna cost. I need $1,000 right now to start t-shirts. Okay, I need $1,000. Well, if I'm gonna buy t-shirts, I gotta run a Facebook ad. How much is that gonna cost? Well, at least one ad's gonna, let's say, we keep it moderate. We don't wanna go on the low end, but we definitely don't wanna be on the high end. Let's say $200. Okay, well, that's gonna cost me $200. It's like they start working backwards. They work with what they're gonna spend before what they see what they have to spend. Before you launch a business, you gotta know what you have to spend. Now, there's nothing wrong with figuring out what you need to spend. because ultimately you need to know those numbers. But sometimes it's just a matter of perspective, because you're like, oh, well, I need $1,000. I need $200. I need really to develop a better logo, because mine is kind of, I made it, but that's going to cost me $180, and that's a cheap logo. Some of them are going to run more. So you start weighing these things and you're like, okay, well, I'm going to jump all in, right? I've had people, like I said, I've worked with, they're just like, okay, well, you know what? If we're really going to do this, my computer's junk. I'm buying a laptop. And they spend $1,600 on a laptop. And I'm like, you just spent $1,600 on a laptop, but where'd that money come from? Oh, don't worry, I'm financing it. Oh, okay. I mean, if you have to, you have to. I'm not sweating people who finance, especially when it comes to your business. Okay, with your personal business, with your personal finance, ultimately you don't want to finance things any more than you absolutely have to, because that's money that you lose. Now, when you're financing things for your business, it's investments. So you look at it as, I could wait, I could save up the money. And if you can, great. But I could wait, I could save up the money. But if I save up the money, that's going to take me more time to start generating income. I need to get this income flowing. So that's when you evaluate how much of a percent is that interest rate that you're going to finance that laptop. But how badly did you need that laptop? Your computer may be junk, but is your computer getting the job done? Are you capable, depending on what kind of side hustle you're trying to get off the ground? What kind of business are you trying to launch? I'm telling you, I had a partner who literally, oh my goodness, I couldn't believe it. He dropped over $2,000 on a new laptop, so that way me and him could do some marketing. We could do some marketing for a business that we were trying to grow. A business that ultimately crashed. The business crashed. Ultimately, it crashed because of several reasons, but mostly a flaky partner. I couldn't get anything done with this guy. This guy was very smart. He had so creative, had lots of ideas, and was always trying to make things happen. But at the same time, while he was trying to make things happen, he had no follow through. He was constantly thinking about the next idea rather than putting the effort into the first idea. It was very detrimental. So our business together, ultimately, the multiple businesses that we ventured into together, he was young, I was young, the multiple businesses that we went in together all ultimately crashed. It did. It was unfortunate. It was a bummer. But on one of those businesses, like I said, he dropped $2,000 just on a computer. Didn't make sense. It just didn't. And like I said, at the end of the day, he wasn't willing to put forth the effort. So like I said, that's when you got to take a step back, and you got to start at the beginning rather than backwards, right? Okay, so let's see, what do you have? Well, I have X amount of dollars in my savings account that I'm able to spend. Okay. I have an emergency fund. Well, you have an emergency fund. Do you really want to sacrifice your emergency fund? Is this business justifiable to sacrifice that emergency fund? Well, it would be beneficial to my family. I get that. It would be beneficial to your family to get a side hustle. It would be beneficial to your family to have a business that's growing and thriving and potential of making better opportunities for your family. But you have to ask yourself this very important question. How long will it take to see that money back? How long? How long? So you sacrifice your emergency fund, and next month you have an emergency, you ain't got that money back. You put yourself in a bad spot, my friend. So let's take a step back. Let's keep your emergency fund, because that's exactly what you built it for. You built it for a reason, to protect your family. So protect them. So you have this money over here in your savings. You're like, well, I only have so much. I have a little. Oh, hey, a little something. So you have a little. How much you got on your credit card? Well, I have, a decent credit card. Okay, you got a decent credit card. It's not the best, not the greatest, but it's decent, right? Okay. Is it enough to fund your business? Okay, well, that's what we're working with. So let's take out your paper. Let's say here, take out your smartphone if you want. I'm old school. I like paper. I like to put pen to paper. It makes me feel good. Like I said, make a map. Make your plan. Let's start doing this right now. Okay, so this is where you're at. This is where you need to be, and what's it going to take to get there, right? What's it going to take to make these two things meet? So where you're at is what you have available. Okay, you have this in your savings, you have this on your credit cards. Could you get an increase on your credit card? Maybe you could. Okay, but let's go back and let's go back to the map. So this is what you have available. This is what you have in your bank account. How much wiggle room do you have each month? That's the next thing you need to look at. Okay, so each month I typically have, or each paycheck, typically have a wiggle room of, X amount of dollars. Well, I have X amount of dollars. I was like, okay, well, what do y'all normally do? Well, we go out to eat every Friday. Okay, could you sacrifice going out to eat? Could that save you some money right now? Could that right now generate just a little bit more wiggle room? Okay, now that you figured out that you can generate a little wiggle room, you have a little wiggle room, you have a little bit in savings, you have a little bit on your credit cards, you take all that and this is your total of what you have that you can work with today. Okay, you have that today. Okay, so then you go back and now let's say, okay, well, where's the bare minimum that we could start? Start. Okay, is your product something, like I said, I gave the example of the t-shirt business, but like I said, you could be developing something bigger than that. You could be developing a computer program. You could be developing an app. You could be developing a new tool that, maybe you're a mechanic and you realized after the years of you being a mechanic, you've been a mechanic for, 10 years, and you realize there's something about the way that they drain oil that's just inefficient, and you know what? You've got a tool that could do it quicker. Or maybe the way that they, take off a timing belt. Seems like something simple. A lot of people do it all the time. But you know what? You found a more effective, you've created a little tool that's more effective. Okay, so does your product that you're gonna build your business on, does it need a patent? Does it need a trademark? Do you have any of those things? Okay, well, if it needs a patent, because it's like a tool, it needs a trademark because it's a brand, then let's take that and let's say, okay, let's research that. Break out your smartphone, Google it. How much is it gonna take me to get a patent? How much is it gonna take me to get a trademark? How much is it gonna take? Okay, then you write those things down on your business plan, right? This is how much I have, this is how much I need. So writing down, all right, I need this for my patent. How much is it gonna cost to make one? You don't know, you kind of made yours yourself. Okay, so you need to call a factory, a company, somewhere nearby. Can you make all these yourself, or do you need someone in manufacturing or distribution? Are you gonna sell these direct to consumer? Are you gonna sell these on a website? Are you gonna try to license them to a big company or a box store? What is your plan? Maybe you haven't got there yet, and that's okay. That's okay to not be there. Maybe you need to back up just a little bit. So, like I said, when it comes down to it, how much do you need to build it? How much do you need to make it? How much do you need to print those shirts? Okay, so you need X amount of dollars to get everything off and popping. You've got everything listed down. You've got it all itemized. You figured it all out. This is how much it's going to take to get your business ready to go to consumer, ready to go to market, right? Okay, so what are you sitting on again? Okay, look back at your map. This is what I'm sitting on. This is what I need. Are you short? Are you over? If you're over, don't spend it just yet. If you're over, you have more available than you need. Good for you. That's the best possible place to be, because I promise you there will always be surprises. When you launch a business, there's always a surprise. You could have thought, you could have planned, you could have done all the research that you could possibly think that you could do. You've done months of research, which is a long time. You've done months of research. Most people, when they're starting a side hustle, they don't do months of research. They should, but they don't. Most people, they get an idea, they either do one of two things. They either put it on the back burner and say, that's a great idea, man. They tell their friend, you know what, I got this great idea. Tell their mom, I got this great idea. Craig, check this out, dog. I got this great idea. It's gonna be so cool. 5 years later, they still haven't done anything. Or they're the other kind of person where they're like, I got this great idea. Let's do this right now. I'm ordering shirts right now. I bought a patent already. I filed the license I filed the paperwork for the patent already. Yeah, but do you even know if anybody wants it? I filed the patent, man. I'm on this. Some people move too fast while other people let it sit. Rarely do you get people right in that sweet spot. It's not as often. People miss the mark because they miss the mark. It's not they miss the mark because they don't have a great idea or because their business plan or model or the concept isn't good. It's not even that the market doesn't desire it because the market desires so much nonsense. I remind you all, I come from the generation, well, my mom was of the generation, it was still kind of popular when I was a toddler. The pet rock was $1 million idea. It was a rock in a box. Look, this is the thing. People buy nonsense. The market's looking for nonsense. They're looking for nonsense because it entertains them, because they think it's efficient, they think it's effective, or they're looking for nonsense because it gives them something to buy because they're consumers, or they're looking for nonsense because they think it's funny or entertaining or exciting to give to somebody else. Ultimately, it doesn't matter. What it comes down to is that people buy stuff. And if your idea is a really great one, ooh, then it all comes down to you. Like, are you gonna capitalize on this moment, this brief moment in time where you've got the idea in your head? Like I said, what it comes down to is money. What it comes down to is managing that money, being able to properly, efficiently, and effectively utilize the tool that you worked so hard for. You worked hard for every dollar that you've got. You did. You were trading time for dollars. You had a limited amount of time and you were trading time for dollars. You've been working hard, as a mechanic. You've been working hard as a chef. You've been working hard as a nurse. You've been working hard doing whatever it is you do, a stock boy. Man, I was a shipping and receiving manager for a good hot minute. I've worked in Burger King, Taco Bell. I've worked as a short order cook. I've worked in a cafe. I've done a lot of different things. I worked in Academy Sports and Outdoors. Tell you, man, when you work hard for your dollar, you want to utilize that dollar. You want it to be good for you. You want to know that your sweat, your efforts, the aches and pains, they were all worth it. When I was shipping and receiving manager, I was shipping and receiving manager for a music store. I was moving grand pianos, not by myself, no. Not move grand pianos by myself, but I was moving grand pianos. I was moving, 40, 50 keyboards at a time. Big keyboards. I was moving, boxes and boxes of sheet music. You want to know that all of your effort, all your hard work, all the sweat, that it was all worth it. So right now you need to make sure that you monetize that tool. You monetize those funds. You're efficient and effective every time you spend one of those dollars. So when it comes down to it, like I said, figure out what you need, figure out what you have. If you have more than you need, hold on to it. Don't say, oh man, we could just put a little extra in marketing. No, because something always comes up. Something absolutely always comes up. Something unpredictable. So, if you had now the opposite situation, now if you have less than what you need, which is more frequently the case, it's not as often that people have more than they need, but sometimes people do. And when they have more, like I said, people tend to make the mistake of spending that and then they don't have it when they actually do need it, and then they find themselves in a bind. I should have spent a little less on marketing. I shouldn't have bought the extra inventory. I shouldn't. Yeah, shouldn't. Man, that don't do you no good now. It's gone. It's done. So if you are in the other group of people who has less than what they need, let's look at your options. Can you get an increase on your credit limit, on your credit cards? Do you have good credit? Can you apply for a business credit card? A credit card in your business name. So it's not taking up, maybe you're, like I said, this is a side hustle. Maybe you don't have a business name. How much would it cost to get you a business name? How much would it cost you to file a paperwork for DBA? Back in the day when I did a DBA, I think it was like $130 or something like that. It wasn't crazy. Is that $130 worth it right now? Do you have $130? Like I said, if you're that tight, maybe $130 isn't worth it. But maybe $130 is worth it in 6 months. Maybe you can get an increase on your credit card right now to float you so you can finance this, get this started, make a little money. First thing you need to buy, get you a DBA, and then get you a business credit card. You file for a DBA, get you a credit card in your business name. That credit card's gonna ride you on your business's name. Then after you got your credit card riding on your business name, you can transfer that debt over to your business credit card, which frequently businesses can get a little bit better rate. They just can't. They just can't because businesses tend to generate money. That's the point. And they can leverage against your business. It just works a little differently. So like I said, that's when you look into your options. Now, if you're growing something bigger, yeah, you can absolutely look into bigger investors. You can reach out to your homeboys, your friends, your cousins, your mom, your dad. Bezos was growing Amazon, doing nothing but selling books out of his basement when he reached out to mom and dad and said, I'm on to something. I want you to give me your entire retirement fund. And they did. They gave him his retirement fund, and now we have Amazon as you know it today. All because mom and dad invested. Now, mom and dad had a huge retirement fund. It's not like they had pennies. It's not like they were sitting on like $1,000. They had a huge retirement fund, but they gave it to him as he was growing quickly. And he turned that retirement fund and his already growing, thriving book-based Amazon business. He turned that into the Amazon that you know today, and turned himself, at one moment, was the richest man in the world. Maybe you don't have a mom and dad with a retirement fund. Maybe mom and dad do have a retirement fund, but their budget's already too tight and they can't give it to you. Maybe it's time to reach out to the bank. Say, hey, can I get a business loan? And the other option is if you're creating something like a tool, if you're creating something that could be utilized by other companies, maybe that's your route. Maybe you go reach out to one of these companies and say, hey, look, I got this idea. I got this product. I got this device. I got this tool. I got whatever. I'd like to sell it to you. I'd like to license it to you. You give me a, 10% royalty, whatever. Something. You can ask for more. The big giant corporations and big giant companies don't like to give out too much, especially for a product that's not theirs, that they haven't really tested yet. You got to convince them. You got to sell them. But if you sell them and you get that money, then maybe that money you can invest in your next business. And you still continue to collect royalty checks from whatever they do with it, whatever they sell with it. So there are so many different options for you. But ultimately where it starts is that finance, is that basic concept of what you want, what you want, what you have versus what you need. That's where you start. That's how you get started. You break down that money, you keep it simple, you don't get crazy stupid over it, you just don't agonize over it, you just make it simple. You just break it down. This is what I have. This is what I need. How can we make this work? Then you start moving forward. Don't start buying, don't start spending before you know your have and your need. That's how people get themselves upside down. That's never where you want to be. All right. Y'all stay tuned. I got so much more coming at y'all. I want to help y'all grow. I want to help you learn. I want to help y'all make money. I want y'all to have the opportunity to be financially free. That's what the key aspect of this is. People want to be rich. People want to be wealthy. People want to be this, that, whatever. Some people want to, end of the day, most important, financially free. Be able to go buy groceries for your family without thinking about how much does it cost? Be able to take your family on a vacation without being like, it's going to make things tight next month. We've all been there. I've been there. I've known friends who've been there. I've known family who've been there. They're like, they make this sacrifice so that way they can do this big thing with their family, only so that way that later they're paying the price for the next month, sometimes longer. Don't let that be you. Let's grow. Let's learn. Let's progress. Let's get to a better spot. It's your boy Corey B. Be sure you give me some love. Hit that like button. Hit that subscribe button. Ding that bell. Get your notifications. Stay tuned because I got so much more coming at you. Till next time, I'm out.